certainly when you look at his policies on the campaign website, I mean, he's talking about a civilian kind of commissioner of the police department. He's talking about more police officers being required to live in the communities that they're serving. He's talked about, more training, cameras, those kinds of things, and of course the basic income stuff. And you have to believe, I would believe that that would be beneficial to all New Yorkers, including the Black community. Um, and it sounds like that's probably right on that line that he needs to be on, like push for things that help, but he doesn't need to march every day and make it sort of the top of his morning, as he's campaigning. Or do you feel like actually he probably needs to do a little more, that just being the policy guy isn't going to be enough? He needs to somehow speak to it in a more personal way. I don't know.
Well, I mean, I look at it like this. When he did his town halls, especially in Iowa and New Hampshire, he made people feel as though he can relate to their issues and to be able to bring their issues to real life in a way where it's like, okay, what you're talking about, we see it and we live it and we get it. He needs to bring that same presence to the city of New York. He needs to tell that same messaging and cater towards the people of New York, and especially those Black communities that's been caught lacking for a number of years. He needs to bring that up and let them know and realize, like, I'm here with you. I understand and I get it. I get the fact that our city is becoming a mess. I get the fact that many businesses are closing. I get the fact that some of you guys barely have enough money to survive on as it is anyways. I get that. I have something to help you. I have something to give you, and I want to partner with you to bring that idea to reality. And not sugarcoat it, because Black folks, we're the type of people where it's like, give it to us straight, give it to us raw. If it hurts our feelings, oh well, but at least you told us, at least you gave us that option to do the necessary research to see whether or not either one, you're full of crap, or you're actually legitimate and serious about what you're saying, and even then, to kind of push that further, continue to build those relationships, irregardless of what happens, as long as they see you and you are actively involved in their community, they're gonna be like, okay, you're not just full of show, but you're actually here. I remember watching the video of the two Black guys from New York who are going around the city just passing out people $1,000. Like, I watched that like continuously because it was like, it echoes. But at the same time, his message was very clear. He's like, I want to unscrew you guys because you guys are getting screwed around. I want to help you to get unscrewed. And this is what I want to do, is make sure that you get $1,000 in your hand every month, no matter what. And it resonated. It even they could tell the people there, they're like, okay, all we got to do is vote for Andrew Yang for president. Yeah. Well, now the same message echoes, vote for that man to be your mayor. And he could possibly get that done a whole lot quicker.
How did the council take the decision for him to run for mayor? Were you excited? Were you guys sort of debating it, or were you all opposed to it? I know it was controversial within a lot of parts of the Yang Gang. A lot of us were debating it, and I was curious, was it a hot topic on the council?
Yeah, I feel like it was mixed. I was very on the fence of wanting him to run. I kind of didn't. I mean, I'm happy that he's running now. I'm not like opposed to it, but I kind of didn't want him to run because I felt like he made such a huge influence from the outside. With his humanity
forward.
Well, the candidates, some of them, a lot of them won, a lot of them also lost as well. But, to continuously push that, throughout every single voting cycle, especially, for the local candidates too. Like he had like a big voice with Yang Speaks. He has a really big voice too, and like also with CNN. As a correspondent, like he had like a pretty big voice, and I felt like it was just kind of building and getting bigger. And a lot of people liked Yang on CNN. A lot of people, like Yang on his podcast and his Humanity Forward. I felt like he was getting bigger that way, and I felt like he probably could have done more throughout the entire country that way. But I am happy that he is running for mayor as well, because I do want to see how he is, in a political leadership position like that, and to see if he can actually like enact his policies and his ideas, and to see what New York will be like in the next 4, 8, 12 years.
Toby, what was your take? Were you also on the fence like Elle?
Yeah, definitely. And I remember we talked about it. Actually, you were on the stream, which was cool, when we had our like Being Black in the Yang Gang episode at the end of last year. Yeah. And of course, the conversation got turned that direction. I remember Dennis there, Mindful Skeptics was there, Fred the Felon came on. Like people were just giving all their inputs, and it was a bit like, man, like I know how New York City can be. I mean, New Yorkers can be tough. They roast people for fun. Like that's just kind of like that culture comes a lot from also the DMV, which is where I'm from Maryland, really. But like a lot of those cultures, like it's just you have to know what you're walking into. And I was like, man, like the national level, there was a great like way of appealing to a lot of different groups. Humanity Forward, just like Elle said, was getting more popular. Yang Speaks and all of that. So I kind of felt like having that driving force at the top would be good. But I wasn't really pro third party like some other people. I remember the debate that you were on, Tom, that Dennis hosted. I watched that, and I was not on the side of let's do a third party run or primary Kamala or whoever. So I would have preferred New York City mayor over him running some other kind of Quijada, whatever you say, campaign. But I knew that there would be legitimate roadblocks and a lot of scrutiny of his record, like because I remember it being reported that he never really voted in local elections, and I think he's done a good job at explaining all these different things, why he was out of state so long, why he never really voted a lot, like 90% of people haven't in the city. So I think he's done a great job fending some of these topics, but I kind of felt like it was just going to be landmine after landmine. But actually watching the interviews and seeing sort of some of the videos of him walking throughout the city and being in different, boroughs and different neighborhoods and different communities, I think it is bringing a much needed energy and perspective to New York. So I just hope that really what I want is that New York Yang Gang people are front and center, kind of explaining like how Yang will help versus a lot of like out of state people who just wanted to win because, Yang Gang. So I'm pro it. I'm pro the run at this point, but I'm really hoping to see more of the people who are in the city, especially people who are from certain activist communities who've really helped build parts of the city. So there's a bit more cred.
Yeah. Ronald, were you in the Unity 2020 camp, or where were you in that whole debate, which got pretty testy?
I was on the more so the spectator side. And I told people this too. I'm like, listen, Andrew Yang is a grown man. Like that man is grown. He has a whole family to worry about, to take care of. Like whatever he does, if he decides to run for mayor of New York, okay, cool. He has my support. If he continues to do things from the outside, which again, as Elle and Toby said, okay, I'm still going to support you. But at the end of the day, it's like he's grown. He can do whatever he wants to do. And the only other person he probably has to listen to better be Evelyn. Yeah. It better be Evelyn. But even then, she's been very supportive of a lot of the things that he's done thus far. And I feel as though for anybody, that's a key. That's a huge key. And it shows that togetherness, that no matter what happens, we're going to ride this thing out. And I think that echoes New York City as a whole. No matter what happens in New York, they always find a way to come together, put aside differences, come together and get the job done. And I feel as though this mayoral campaign, it's going to shed a lot of light on it. It's going to allow the citizens of New York to see their everyday life being lived out by a guy who very much cares and very much wants the best in anybody, you know? And just have that conversation with him and just to kind of sit back and listen to him and be like, you know, hey, this is what I want to do for you. This is how I envision it. You know, is this something worth fighting for? Yes or no? And even then, it's like, if you say yes, okay, great. If you say no, okay, great. Now let's talk about why do you not want to fight? Why do you not think this is not worth fighting for? And again, he's that guy where it's like he's going to ask you questions in order for you to get uncomfortable. So you kind of sit back and be like, okay, maybe my train of thought may have to be shifted just a little bit, but not enough to the point where it's like, you know, I'm going to go into it blindly. No. He does things in a way where it's like, you know, makes you think harder.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. It is fascinating how we all thought this was a pretty smart dude who has some really kind of insightful visionary ideas, who's ready to be president. But then I think a lot of us did not give the guy credit to make his own decisions about what's best for him. And it's like, well, obviously he should do this. If he does that, it's a stupid move. It's like, well, I don't know. He's no dummy. He's a full grown man. he probably could think things through, and he's probably got to factor in a lot of perspectives, including Evelyn's. And so I too was frankly, I was hoping for commerce or labor or small business administration in the Biden cabinet. That would have been my first pick. I was a little bit worried about how to Toby's point, like how he would hold up in a rough and tumble New York campaign. But I have to say, looking at the last 2-3 polls, looking at the news coverage, like he's doing all right. You know, he's moving the chains there, and he's technically a front runner. So
it's crazy.
Which is like, what? Like, if people are like over covering him, like challenging him, like trying to pull out dirt on him and stuff, like this is a very weird position versus what we were seeing in the national election, where, you know, they just ignore him or, you know, get his name wrong and not even just laugh at him. And now people are like, you know, really trying to go after him, which is a great sign, right?
Oh yeah,
that's true.
Oh yeah.
So tell me a little bit about so let's zoom out from Yang for a minute and just talk about America. Like how yeah, the rest of this great nation. How are you feeling now in, you know, what are we in, January 30th, 2021? We have a new president. What's it like? What's your take?
Man, I look at it like this. January is always that month where it's like, it's the honeymoon phase before a lot of crap either goes good or it could go bad. Okay. And so once we get past January, of course, we've had the inauguration came in, and of course we celebrated Dr. King's legacy. We've done that. But again, like I said, January is more so, to me, in my opinion, is more so that honeymoon stage, to the point where like, okay, what's going to happen? Because as we all can recall, last year, January, it was like, okay, nothing too serious or weird should happen. Come February, March, everybody's on lockdown. And then the rest of the year was a complete crap show, you know?
So Kristen Slevin is our executive vice president. She is the most generous Nerds for Humanity member. Thank you, Kristen. I think that EVP slot is going to open up. I think Kristen's like, hey, you know, I love you, but I'm gonna have to downgrade to a lower level because that EVP level is pretty generous. But thank you, Kristen, for the almost year of being an EVP, and you helped us advertise on Yang Speaks and then David Packman and invest in some of this cool equipment. You know who else has helped us? Our VPs. And who are those VPs? I will tell you. Crikey. Hold on. Who are those VPs? I will tell you. Golly. This is taking forever. Here we go. All right. I just want to make sure that you guys could see. There we go. What in the Sam Hill's going on? All right. Oh, Andrew Yang for president saying, any Pac-Man interview on the horizon? You know, I'll ask. I mean, obviously, we advertise on his channel. I don't think that obligates him to come on to the Nerd Show, but I would love to. So thank you for reminding me. I need to ask him. Okay, VPs. I'm going to sort this guy by total time as member. So our oldest VPs are VLAM, JM Sap, Fat Lamb, Soldier, Laura Lane, Joshua Frick, Patrick Dunn, Bike, and Mindful Skeptics. So thank you to our VPs. And at the hardcore level, we have Mike Chang, Gene Lim, David, Tracy Mesa, DK, Landline, Phoenix Congress, Jekalego, Kirsch Thiva, Mr. History Fan, Byram Hess, Susan Clifton, Yang Deng, Tony, Robert, Dean, Stat Nerd, Galessa, and Jalacia. So, there's more. And Jay Perrin and J. Brian Anderson. Mr. Anderson. All right. And then at the verified level, we have Helen, Lisa, Sugar, Albert, Brandon, Yes, Brian, Peter, Arez, Your Mammon, Sophia, Jadwiga, Gail, Shake and Make, Mike, Doris, Emerald, Nell, Lori, Ben, Roger, Lisa, Christina, Vaughn, Rasta, Ryan, Jessica, James, Jalopy, Emma, Joel, Spirited, Hui, Steven, Ira, Shoni, Spy. Spy's actually right here. I think he's in the audience at the moment. Philip, Jameson, Ender the Third, Dr. A, William, Karen, Annalisa, Monica, Alex, Ardent, Mai, and Samari. And I'll give a quick shout out to our youngest nerds who just joined quite recently. Samari, only 4 days old. J. Brian Anderson in the last 7 days. Ardent, Mai, also in the last 7 days. Alex and Annalisa fairly recently as well. Let me give you guys a welcome cowbell. All right. Thank you. Okay, now.
Yang Gang 2020. Yang Gang 2020. Yang Gang 2020. Yang Gang. Yeah. Yang Gang 2020.